Hello, prisoners of the Warden! My name is Professor Scalar, and I'm here to welcome you all to my first of many Rundown 7 level guides. It's a brand new rundown, which means a lot of returning players to the game, as well as quite a few new people dropping down into the depths of the complex for their very first time. And since the complex is a labyrinth of death where only a few of you will survive to see another day, it's my job to help guide as many of you as I can in surviving in these dark hallways and completing the task given to us by the almighty Warden. But for some of you, this video might not be the right one for you, at least not quite yet, as these level guides by me are by no means a proper substitute to an introduction to the game. So if you're somebody who's never played GTFO before, or maybe you've been in hydrostasis for too long and forgot even the basics of the game, I highly recommend you pause this video, head down to the description, and click on the link that will take you to my most recent beginner's intro guide video. There you'll learn all about GTFO and the basic skills you'll need in order to even have the slimmest chance of survival in this game. For those of you who are ready though and know everything that you need to up to this point, let's dive into it and start off this level guide the same way we always do. Since this is the first level of a brand new rundown, it's not going to be that complicated or difficult, so any loadout that you can really think of will work as long as you have the skills to back it up. So I would highly recommend, especially to the newer players of the game, when it comes to your melee weapons, your primary gun and secondary gun, experiment, have fun, try out different loadouts, see how they feel to you, which guns you like, which ones you don't like, understand their pro and cons or strengths and weaknesses, that way you know which situations they work well in and which situations they don't work well in. And just experiment a bit. Expand your knowledge and get a better idea of how every single one of the melee weapons and guns work early on. That way in the later, more difficult levels where you can't really experiment as much, you have a good idea of which loadouts might be super effective for you to bring with you. When it comes to your tools, it's pretty much the same thing. You honestly could get away with any combination of this level. So I'm going to recommend to you a classic that I like to take whenever I go into a new level for the very first time. And that would be a bio tracker, a mine deployer, a C-foam launcher, and then any sentry of your choice. I like this loadout because it covers pretty much every basis I could ever need. If I want to know where enemies are located, even through walls, or be able to tag them in the darkness, I can do that with the bio tracker. If I want to be able to shut doors, mine, and C-foam them, that way they're reinforced, and when they finally break down during an alarm door sequence, all the enemies approaches blow up immediately to the mine. You can do that. Very nice combination. These two have very good synergy with each other. And then when it comes to that sentry, it really doesn't matter which one you take. If you want a close range sentry, take the shotgun sentry. If you want a mid-range one, take burst. Or if you want a very long-range sentry, take the sniper sentry. All of them work perfectly fine for this level. They just have different ways you have to position them. That way they're effective against the enemies that they're shooting at. And just have a little bit of fun with it. If you want to replace one of the tools in this loadout, maybe get rid of the C-foam launcher and replace it with a second sentry, by all means, go on ahead. It's completely up to you and your team. Dropping down to the level, you'll see that your main objective is to take the HSU neonate and put it into the resuscitation machine, and this machine will always be located inside of zone 49. And you'll be starting off inside zone 43, which isn't too terribly far away. Inside zone 43, you'll have the HSU with you. It'll be in the cargo drop on your way down. There will also be a few enemies as well as some resources throughout this entire zone, but more importantly, there will be two security doors. One to zone 44, which can be found to the west, and one to zone 45, which can be found to the north. In order to progress, you're going to want to go north to the security door to zone 45, and when you get to it, you'll see that's under lockdown, and there will be some audio that plays over the speakers. You can listen to the dialogue if you want, or you can keep moving forward. Basically, it's telling you that somebody can unlock the door for you, but in order to do so, you need to go to zone 44 and put a command into the terminal in there. So head to the west, go to the security door. That door will now be accessible to you. After you open it up, you can head into the room. There will never be any enemies inside of here, just a terminal at the back end of it, and when you put the command into the terminal, it will cause a full team scan to appear. Once you finish that full team scan, the security door to zone 45 will unlock, and you'll be able to head back out into the previous room, go to that door, and there will be a checkpoint scan tied to it. So finish the scan, and the door will automatically open up afterwards. Inside of zone 45, there will never be any sleeping enemies, so you can very safely traverse through here. There will be some resources that you can grab along the way, and in the second room, you'll be able to find 3 more security doors. One to zone 46, which is to the west, one to zone 47, which is found to the east, and one to zone 48, which is found to the north. The security door to zone 48 will eventually lead you to zone 49, so that's where you ultimately have to go. but the security door itself is currently locked and requires a colored keycard in order to open it. And this keycard will always be located in either Zone 46 or Zone 47. So what you're going to want to do is hop onto a nearby terminal and use the query command with that keycard ID to figure out exactly which zone is located in. Once you know which one's in, you can then go to its respective security door. The security doors to both Zone 46 and 47 are the same. They are both Class 2 alarm doors. So let's take a look at a map overlay. As you can see with the map overlay, there's only one location enemies can possibly spawn in, all the way down to the south. They're going to go through that open security door and then go through the door right here to get to you. So I highly recommend you close this door, place one mine on it, as well as C-foam the door fully. That way it's reinforced, and this will buy you plenty of time to finish the scans before the enemies even get into your room. Once you've got all that set up, you can activate the security door, work on the scans, and then once you finish them, just go over to that door that's been mined and wait for it to break down. The mine will sometimes kill off every single enemies, but there will be some moments where 1, 2, or maybe even 3 of them survive. And if that's the case, not a big deal, just simply shoot them or melee them to finish them off. And once they're all dead, you can then head over to the security door and open it up and go into that zone. You're going to want to head throughout whichever one of the 2 zones you had to go into. There will be a fair amount of enemies sleeping throughout these zones, so do be a bit cautious of them, especially if you're newer to the game. Look around, collect resources from the boxes and lockers, and look for the keycard. If you're having a little bit of difficulty finding it, go to one of the 2 terminals that will be in both of the zones. Use it to ping the location of the keycard. You'll do the same command, just ping instead of query with the keycard ID, and this will make a little marker appear right above it, that way you can see it. So then go over, grab the keycard, and once you have it, as well as any resources you need, head back out into Zone 45, head to the northern end, and then you can plug that keycard into the security door to Zone 48. After doing so, the door will unlock, and you'll see that there's no alarm tied to it, and simply just a checkpoint scan. So do the checkpoint scan, and once that finishes, the door will automatically open up. Inside of Zone 48, you'll be able to find more resources for you in boxes and lockers, as well as more strikers and shooters, as well as a few giant strikers in this area, which if you're new to the game, they might look a little bit ominous with how big and muscular they look, but don't worry too much, they're not that difficult to deal with. As long as all 4 of you do fully charged melee hits from behind, with most melee weapon combinations, you'll be able to kill them very stealthily and easily. So be coordinated, be a little bit cautious. If you don't want to try melee kill them, you could just simply try to shoot at them from a distance, although I would recommend you deal with all the smaller enemies in the room first, that way you don't have to shoot nearly as much. Giant strikers have a whole lot more HP, but they are quite slow, which is their main weakness. At the far northern end of the zone though, you'll be able to find a security door to Zone 49, and this is going to have a Class 3 diminished alarm tied to it. So let's take a look at the map overlay. As you can see, enemies can spawn in one of 2 different rooms. Either they're going to be spawning from the south or they'll be spawning from the east. If they spawn from the south, they're going to go through the open security door and then go through this central door right here to get into your room. However, if they spawn from the east, they're going to go through one of these 2 doors, depending on whichever one they spawn closest to, and then they're going to go up through that central door to get into your room. So what I recommend you do is make sure both of the doors to the east are kept shut. That way, if enemies do come from that direction, it'll take more time for them to get to you. Do not mine or C-foam them though, just simply mine and C-foam the door that leads directly into your room, as this is your last line of defense. If you have a sentry with you and you want to use it, you kind of have it on the inside of the room facing towards the door, that way it shoots at them after they break into it. Or if you want to, you could place it outside. This isn't really the most efficient thing to do, as it's best to actually keep the sentries on the inside of the room if you have a door mined or C-foamed, but this is the first level, resources are abundant, so it's really not all that big of a deal. As long as you have that door leading to your room closed, mined, and C-foamed, you really should be good. If you get bad scan RNG, you might have to re-C-foam it once while you're doing the scans, that way it takes longer for enemies to break it open, but this is a pure situational thing. I trust you and your team, I'm sure you'll be able to handle it to the best of your capabilities, and you'll be fine during this alarm. Once all the scans are completed and every single enemy is dead, you can open up the security door to 49 and head right on in. Inside of Zone 49, there will never be any enemies, but there will be some resources for you and your team, as well as the neonate resuscitator that you need. There will be a total of 6 of them at the back end of the room. Only one of them will actually be powered though, so you just have to walk next to them with the neonate in your hand. And once you see the option to place it down into one of them, you know that's the correct one. Don't worry, you can't accidentally place it down into the incorrect one, the game will not let you. But before you place the neonate into the resuscitator, you want to make sure your entire team is ready to go. Because once you put into the resuscitator, an animation will play out. Once the animation is finished, it'll give you the neonate back and you'll be able to pick it up. But as it gives it back to you, it's going to initiate an extraction alarm. This extraction alarm will be spawning in waves of regular strikers and shooters, as well as the occasional giant striker, either until your entire team dies and you end up wiping, or you get back to extraction and get out of the level. So once everybody is ready to go and make that final journey back to the beginning of the level together as a team, you're going to want to put the neonate into the resuscitator, wait for it to pop it back out, one person's going to pick it up, and you're going to slowly make your way all the way back to being the level. Remember that the person who is carrying the neonate is not able to sprint, so you're going to have to walk the entire way back. The 3 people who aren't carrying it are basically that person's bodyguard. You're just going to make sure that none of the enemies get close enough to attack them, and you're just going to walk slowly all the way back to the beginning of the level. It's a pretty straight shot. You literally just have to go directly south. Once you get back to where you drop down to the level, you'll see a scan being there, a big red one. Just drop the neonate into it by looking at the ground, just holding down E. As long as the neonate is in the scan, as well as one person, it will gain progress, and you just have to hold out for a little bit. This won't be too terribly difficult. You could plop down your sentry right there at extraction. You can also place some mines on the walls a bit. You can also dump your C-foam all over the floor. Anything to just buy yourself a little bit of extra time. That way the waves of enemies do not overwhelm you and just kill every single one of you off. But once you get that scan to 100%, you are done and you have beaten R7A1. And that's all there really is to it. R7A1 is a fairly straightforward and simple level that, in my opinion, does a good job of easing new players into the game. Not too many enemies throughout the entire level, although it did have a few giant strikers in it, which was nice. Some short alarms that are fairly easy to set up defenses for, but could definitely surprise newer players if they're not fully prepared, or maybe one person pulls the alarm door a little bit too quickly. And there's also a fair amount of resources in it, so minor or even somewhat major mistakes aren't all that devastating in the long run, which is pretty good seeing how this is an A tier level. I wouldn't call this A1 a perfect introduction level, but honestly I don't think it really needs to be, seeing how the game now actually has a proper tutorial level for brand new players. As always though, thank you for watching this video all the way to the very end. I do hope that it was able to provide you with some assistance in beating this level. If you have any tips or tricks for this level that you want to share, any questions for me, or you just have something in general that you want to say, please do let me know down in the comments. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more from me, and if you want to join the community I'm building, there's a link to my Discord down in the description, as well as some other cool links down there. Among those links being one that will take you straight to the official GTFO merchandise store, which I highly recommend you check out if you're a fellow GTFO enthusiast. Until next time, have fun exploring all of the new treasures given to us in this rundown. There's definitely a lot of cool stuff the further you go down, and I'll see you all in the next video.